Alright guys, Aaron from Innocuous Libertarians here. I got another video coming to you with this candidate for Collinsville City Council. Now look, I'm going to do some other videos of like, what was I thinking here? The O'Fallon mayor race is going to be interesting, I think. I was previewing some of the O'Fallon City Council forums, and I was going to do some reviews there. I really wasn't finding anything that was super interesting in those videos, so I didn't really chop it out. But anyway, one of the guys for Collinsville City Council released a video today, and it is actually interesting. I keep doing that. And this guy is kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. So he gives me materials to critique, and therefore, I just got to critique him. I mean, there's nothing else I can do. But I also had other people asking me to do this. Again, we have David Jerome here, and he's talking about TIF usage in Collinsville and his views on TIF and why he thinks they're okay to use, they're not a net negative. The other thing here is I didn't actually chop this video up. My editing software was kind of having a problem with it. And so it's a 7-minute video, so I'm just going to kind of let it run. So here we go. I'm going to get into this, and let's critique what he's got to say here.
Hi, I'm David Jerome, and I am running for City Council for the City of Collinsville at the upcoming election on April 4th. I want to remind people that the early voting is underway, and if you want to vote early, you can go to the Collinsville Senior Center located at 401 East Main.
Yes, please vote early and vote often.
Now, today we're going to talk about a complex issue, and that is tax increment financing, known as TIF. Now, we want to talk about what it is and whether we really want to use it in the City of Collinsville. Now, before I begin, I want to dispel one myth, and that myth is that TIF will raise other people's taxes. It doesn't. TIF, whether you use it or not, doesn't affect the property taxes that you and I will ever pay. Doesn't affect it one way or the other.
Okay, so that's not really true. So I wrote about this. So if you check out our page, Innocuous Libertarians, you'll see my write-up on why I disagree with everything he said in this video. But the number one thing here is that TIF, before he provides any description of what it actually is, he says, I'm going to tell you what it isn't. Okay, that's not quite as helpful. But when the TIF goes in, the amount of taxes that goes to every other tax district in that TIF district is capped. And so then any increases on those property taxes is going to go into the TIF fund. Now, that puts downward pressure on the revenues for those other taxing districts, and therefore they're going to see their budget squeezed if they're trying to take on new projects and things like that. So we'll get back to the new projects thing as we wrap this up, but I just wanted to say that it does put upward pressure on the tax levy of other districts because of the way they're not getting, if you want to say, inflation-adjusted tax revenues due to the presence of the TIF. So right away we have a problem here. All right, let's go there.
Now, what it does do is it's one of the tools that we can use to encourage development by allowing a developer to use some of their own property taxes in a rebate form to help them with their development. Now, the best way to really explain this is to give you an example. Let's say, for instance, we have farmland, and that farmland is in a floodplain. So it's one of those that would be more challenging for developers to use. But that farmer each year is paying $10,000 to the county in property taxes. Of that $10,000, you have to figure about 8% of it goes to the city, 10% to the school district. The remaining portion goes to the county, township, library district, things like that.
Okay, now I got to pause him there, and I realize that it's not central to his argument, but I happen to have my property tax bill right here. I'm not really going to show it to you because it's private, but he's going on about like 10% to the school district. I pay 59% of my property tax to the school district. Card only accounts for 6.4% of my taxes. SWIC is about the same. I pay about 8% for fire, 8% for township and roads combined. Of course, I don't pay for the city because I'm not in the city. But he's trying to say, the library district is like under 2% or right around that. And he's trying to say, oh, it's a little bit for schools, a little bit for city. No, it's most of it goes to the school and the city. If you add those two together, that's the vast majority. The county itself is, they're saying countywide they're at 9%. I thought before it was more around 11%. And here it says that 6% of the taxes collected in Madison County went to TIF districts. Okay, so that's part of that downward pressure I was telling you about. Okay. And then his other thing about the floodplain, I don't really know if he's not going to use a real example here. But anyway, let's keep going.
Now, if nothing happens, that farmer will continue to pay that $10,000 every year, assuming no major increases, and that's the way that property will remain. Alternatively, if that farmer decides to sell to a developer, and that developer decides to build, say, a mall, and the property value goes up to the point that the property taxes are now $100,000 per year, it will have gone up $90,000 per year because of the development. Now, in a TIF district, what can happen is that $90,000, a portion of it or all of it, can be rebated back to the developer to assist him or her in the development.
Okay, now right there I want to mention the county was getting $10,000 for this, example, hypothetical property. A developer has come in, poured a bunch of money into it, did a whole bunch of work, and now the county is going to say, okay, you owe us $100,000 a year instead of $10,000 a year. So I just kind of wanted to preface that the county didn't do anything. The developer did. And what does the developer get as a reward for his efforts? $100,000 in bills per year, a tenfold increase in the property tax based on obviously the fact that he has increased the value of this property. Now, back to his contention that this is all just money that they can rebate back to the developer. That's kind of bullcrap, because actually where that money is going to come from is not that increase. It's the money that's skimmed off the property tax increases of all the properties that are in that district. So I don't understand why he's not even hitting on that part of it. That these other, you've got some couple that's in their 80s that's living in a house over off of St. Louis Road that was built in 1920. They're still paying $2,000 a year on this thing. And a portion of that $2,000 is going to go to this developer. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So he's mischaracterizing the way a TIF works, and even in his example, he's given an example that I hope when people hear that they're like, okay, why does this developer have to pay so much more property taxes after they, did all these great things with this farmland? Okay, let's keep going.
That's how a TIF works. It's simply rebating a portion of the developer's property taxes to them to assist them with the development.
Yeah, it's not how it works.
When I say some of it can be rebated back, it means in a true TIF, when it first began, they would rebate all of the TIF money back. But through the years, they've created some other unique ways to do it, kind of like what we've done on 157. The TIF on 157 is designed so the school district is not harmed. They still get their increase, the additional 10%, as though there had been no TIF, as though there had been no rebate. They still get their portion back. Additionally, the way it's designed, the developer is not going to get even the remaining $80,000 back. Instead, what the developer is going to get will be a portion, let's say $60,000. The remaining $20,000 can be used then for other businesses within that TIF district. And what that means is, if there's an existing business, you can still assist them. Because one of the most unfair portions of a TIF district is one party is getting to get a rebate on their property taxes where the other is not.
Okay, so that's interesting that he frames it that way. Actually, what he just said is that a developer comes in, adds, increases the property value 10x, and now as a reward for that increase in property value, they get to pay 10 times the property taxes, and some of that money from their property taxes will be given to other businesses. I mean, am I the only one that's interpreting it this way? That's exactly what he just said. They're going to take money straight from the developer, filter it through the property tax system, and give it to somebody that has a business in that TIF district. Okay, that's just flat redistribution. Now watch where he goes with this.
If you've got two that are remaining in the TIF district, you can help both of them. And what you end up with then at the end of the day is two viable businesses that are now successful.
Okay, now they weren't successful before. That's the assumption. Now he doesn't say that, but he's saying, "Oh, we gave him TIF money, and now they're wildly successful." God knows what they were doing before. How'd they even make it before the government stepped in and started handing them money?
The other thing that you can do too is limit what the TIF can be used for. What you don't want it used for is just whatever they want. Signage, publication, or any type of advertising, what you want.
Parking lots, HVAC systems, capital improvements, which are real examples in this city.
What you use it for is exclusively infrastructure. And that infrastructure means sewer lines, water lines, things of that nature, things that will be there long after the business leaves, things that will also help to spur developments on down the line within that TIF district.
Okay, so sewer and all that kind of stuff you mentioned, the developer's responsibility to put that in anyway. I don't know why he's saying we got to give them TIF money to do that.
Right. You also want to make certain that those TIF proceeds are used to make sure that that development is properly maintained. Now, all of this, best of all, is being done without raising a single tax dollar. So there's no increase to your property tax, no increase to mine. But what it does do is it increases all the sales tax. Because as I told you now, the new business is there with sales tax. The other businesses will hopefully be enhanced, so they will have increased sales tax.
Okay, so again, giving them a rebate in property taxes so they can, do something with their business is magically going to increase their sales. And then the whole reason for these sales increases is to get more property tax or get more sales tax in, which is going to go to the city. Okay, well, what are we going to get for that? That's still us paying it. It's still, when I want to make a transaction, I have to pay money into the city. Okay.
Most importantly, you're also developing jobs. One of the things that we're looking to do in today's day and age, generate more jobs. And most importantly for you and I, it's more services. Whether that be more restaurants, movie theaters, more stores. Now, one of the things we want to be careful of is that we're not simply relocating a store outside of the TIF into the TIF. Because that's not helpful. That's not what a TIF is intended for.
Okay, so if you already have a business and you're not in the TIF, you're just out. Your business, hopefully it's magically made itself successful without the help of government, because government's not going to step in to help you. You're just screwed because they didn't draw a magical line around the place where your business is located. And, not only that, they're not going to help you move into the TIF district because that doesn't suit their needs. They're already getting the tax money from you in the form of the sales taxes. I mean, you see how they're trying to. I mean, the businesses in this city and state are not pawns on a chessboard to be played with. I mean, I just don't understand. This whole mentality is just a problem. All right.
What we want to do is to create new and unique developments that actually spur more sales tax that would be in addition to that which we already have in the surrounding community. So let's also take this TIF to its end point. Let's say the TIF is for 20 years. When we get to the 20-year mark, now the TIF is done. The increased $100,000, now all of that gets paid to the county as though there was no TIF. So now we have the added benefit associated with that as well. So you have the long-term aspect of it. Of 20 years from now, we've planted a seed that will now become increased property taxes being paid into the county. In the short term, we've got sales tax. new jobs, as well as new services and new businesses around for you and I to use within our community.
Okay, now of course he's not going to say why the county needs all this additional tax money. So the goal here is, according to him, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, I'm summarizing what he's saying. The whole idea of TIF is to use tax money as a tool to attract businesses into certain areas, with the end goal being to increase the sales tax that the city receives, and then long term to increase the property tax that the city and all these other tax districts in the county eventually receive. Why do they need this ever increasing base of taxes for them to work off of? What are they doing with the money that they're getting now? And what are they doing to make those types of things more efficient so they can get out of the way so people can keep more of their money? What he's not saying here is that when you don't tax people, then people have more purchasing power and people can make investments in their properties. Again, I kind of harped on him and the other one of the other candidates, Donna Green, talking about the code violations and people not maintaining their properties. Well, maybe if all this money wasn't being taken from them in the form of sales taxes, and then they want to increase the sales tax with this school fund thing, which I did another video about that. I probably should do another video because it's getting worse. The claims and the promises and everything are getting worse on that one. But they want all this sales tax money. Well, that means that you can't buy as much when you go to the store. You go to the store, you want to buy things, or you want to get sodas or whatever in these little special tax districts, you got to pay 10% sales tax on it. It means you're not going to buy as much, or your money doesn't go as far. Okay, well, that money goes to the city. In Jerome's view here, well, that's great. All right, well, what am I going to get for that money? They got more roads that they need to sweep or something? I mean, I just don't. He never does really quantify why all this additional money is needed. That's what I'm getting at. Why do the people have to transfer their wealth to government? Okay, let's keep going. See, I think he's almost out of points here, but let's keep it rolling.
So you can see TIF has some positive attributes to it, but it has to be used correctly. You don't want to TIF the entire city, and you have to be careful that it, like I said before, that it only is to spur new development within those areas that may have problems. Problems can be topography. You need a stormwater detention. It could be contamination from a previous owner. So those are the challenges within some of these sites that a TIF can help to spur development.
Okay, I've never heard that before. I think if you look at all the literature on TIF up to this point, none of it has to do with topography. It all has to do with areas that are blighted and they need economic development. And it's not because they were dealt a bad hand, through nature or nothing. It was just that they're run down and they don't have good property values and jobs and businesses coming in.
So I know that whenever we're looking at TIF districts, we have to be careful that we make certain that they're used at the proper location for the proper businesses and that they're being used exclusively only for the infrastructure.
Okay. He kind of hit on this before, and I didn't stop it. What he's saying here is that you got to have really smart people on the city council who can yield this weapon in the right way, make the right decisions, and mold the community in their vision, which is a very intelligent vision, and that they're going to make everything right because they're the great minds that know all this stuff or whatever. That's how the socialists operate. I'm not calling him a socialist, but I'm saying people that think they can plan society, that's their mentality.
In those instances, TIF can be helpful. As a general rule, though, I think most people would agree we would rather have the businesses stand on their own without TIF, but we know in today's environment that's just not the reality. TIFs are being used all around us.
Stand on their own.
And unless we're willing to be part of that business world, where we're going to encourage development by way of the cooperation and working in conjunction with our businesses, we're going to continue
working in conjunction with them by telling them where to go and come on.
to see businesses going north and south of us, and that does us no good.
It actually does do us good, because then people from our community who own vehicles can drive to those other communities and work at those businesses or patronize those businesses. That's right. But then Collinsville doesn't get the sales tax revenue. Oh, that's the part that does us no good. Okay.
So I believe that TIFs have a use, but they have to be very strongly controlled and regulated. We need lots of safeguards associated with them. But in the long run, it's something that could pay off for our city to help to bring progress and to help to bring developments into this city. So I am David Jerome, and I am running for City Council, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Get rid of him. All right. Thanks, David Jerome, for all of that. Now, again, they can plan the community better than you can. Businesses can't stand on their own. It's not flat wealth redistribution. Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, just almost everything that he said was false. For one thing, he started out saying that, it's just this rebate program. And then later on, he directly contradicts that and says, "Oh no, it's not just a rebate. We're going to redistribute this money." Okay, I would encourage you guys to go over to a website called TIFreports.com. It's not a weird website. It's really a website about TIF. There's a lot of videos on there, a lot of good examples. Most of it comes from Northern Illinois because the guys that run that website are from that area, and those are the TIFs that they're familiar with. Go to this Collinsville City Council meetings and see what they're using TIF for. It's nothing that he's describing at all. Now, is he on the council? No, he's not. But the fact is, he wants to be, and he's on the Economic Planning Commission. So he knows what's going on. And, he's talking about it it sounds very intelligent, it sounds very convincing. He says, "I'm going to tell you what TIF is." Well, at no point did he tell you what a TIF was. He told you a lot of things that TIFs aren't, and the way they should, they have to be used intelligently and all this stuff. No, they shouldn't be used. And this contention, this is something I really hate that all these guys are doing, and I hear it on the Collinsville City Council quite a lot. Other communities are doing this, so we have to do it too. They said this about the utility tax increase. They have no part in the utility. The utility makes the power, delivers the power to your house, sends you the bill. They get in the middle and they say, well, if you use utilities, you have to pay a tax. I don't know what gives them that right, but that's what they do. Well, then they need an increase in the tax. Well, where's that money go? It was 1.5%. Now it's like 4%. Where was I going? Well, anyway, he's not on the board, so it's other board members that are making these decisions. I'll give you that. But he knows what's going on. He's in there. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Other communities are doing it, so we're going to do it. They said the same thing when they were looking to raise the water rates, which luckily I think that failed. They said the same thing when they were looking to raise the sales taxes in Collinsville. That also failed. It was a couple years ago. But they keep saying, well, O'Fallon's sales tax is this. I don't care what O'Fallon sales tax is. If I go shopping O'Fallon, then I care. But if I'm shopping in Collinsville, I don't care what they're doing in O'Fallon. Edwardsville's sales tax, I think, are lower than most parts of Collinsville. What, do you just want me to go to Edwardsville all the time? I mean, I'm sure that everybody here is secretly hoping that this measure for the schools in Edwardsville passes, so they get higher taxes and kind of even things out. I mean, it's just crazy. Anyway. Again, I don't want to harp on this guy. It's not like I really don't like this guy, but he's given me material. And since he's given me material, I'm going to run with it. And I hope you guys learned something about TIFs. I hope you learned something about listening to these candidates. But like I say, man, the guy gives a great delivery and a great talk and everything, but not one bit of it's true. So there's that. All right, guys, I'm signing out. Look, I've been busy lately. I'm going to bring you more of these videos, as I can. Things are happening. Thanks.